What's up, my friends, and welcome into another edition of the All Nittany Lion podcast right here on PHLY. Thanks so much for hanging out with us once again. It's myself, Tyler Zulli. The guy to my right is Adam Telefero. No Jason Cabinda today. He's got the week off. He's on his own bye week, so we'll catch up back with him next week after the UCLA game. So it's just myself and Adam today. As always, Adam, first and foremost, great to be with you. Really looking forward to another fun podcast with you.
Oh, man, Tyler, always good to see you. Looking forward to the conversation today, especially after a good Penn State win.
Yeah, it was a good win, 21-7 over Illinois, a team that came into Beaver Stadium with a rank, a number next to their name, a zero in the L column, and a quarterback who hadn't turned the ball over all season. But let's start with this, Adam, because I tweeted this out, and I was talking about this during the week. If you like old school football, defense, pound the rock, run the ball, control the line of scrimmage, this was the game for you. Penn State wins 21-7 behind the strength of their run game, their defense. We'll get into a couple of guys in particular that I thought had some really strong performances. But let's start there. This felt like an old school Big Ten game. And I know, 21-7 and you go low scoring game. Maybe you're not a Big Ten fan. You think it may be a little bit boring. But for guys like me and you, for Jason, for all the Penn State fans, I think that you look at this and go, man, this is Big Ten football right here.
You hit the nail on the head, man. It was that old school run the ball 40 times, the ball up in the air. It was pure Big Ten football. And after going through the first few playing some non-conference foes, it was great to see Big Ten football back live. I'll tell you, watching that first half, I give Illinois credit. You come into a hospital with 9,000 people, you got the whiteout going on, and they came in and they marched that ball right down the field. And all of us as Penn State fans, you go, whoa, like this, we're in for a tough matchup today. But that Penn State responded not only after that first drive, but throughout the entire game. Just that these guys, I think, are going to hopefully have a special year. And we'll talk about it later on. Big Ten football. In order to win in the Big Ten, you got to have guys that can run the rock.
Oh man, did we lose Adam? We'll try to connect back with Adam in just a second. Oh, there we go. We lost you for a second. I apologize. I'm not sure if it's me or you or us. I had a hard time hearing you there for a second.
Okay, no. Maybe it's my excitement of Big Ten football being back, but it was just, for any Big Ten enthusiasts, that was the game you wanted to watch, and it was just great to see team effort from offense to defense. Special teams is something to be desired, which I'm sure we could talk about as the show goes on. But I was just really pleased at the way that.
So let's start with the run game, because you brought it up, right? Pound the rock, and especially as it gets colder and it's a little bit more difficult to throw the ball within Big Ten country, whether it's at Penn State or it's at Michigan, Ohio State, whatever the case may be. A lot of cold weather teams, and that's kind of how the Big Ten was founded. Not so much anymore, of course, with the addition of all the Pac-12 teams and things like that, one of which we'll get into throughout the show. But Nick Singleton and Kaytron Allen, man, what a dynamic duo those two have been. And we knew this. I think most people knew this. It's not one of those things where you go, hey, man, it's a national breakout party for Kaytron or a national breakout party for Nick Singleton, because I think most college football fans are aware of just how good this running back tandem is. But in a game where you kind of wanted to shrink the game a little bit, you wanted to shorten possessions, chew up the clock, limit Luke Altmyer, limit Zachary Franklin, limit that team to that offense to be on the sideline as much as possible. Your big two did it. 34 carries, 196 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. And Adam, what I loved about this one was it was split. It was basically right down the middle. 18 carries for Kaytron, 16 carries for Singleton, 102 yards for Kaytron, 96 yards for Singleton. They each score a touchdown. This just felt like it doesn't matter which back you put in. You know, we know Singleton's a little bit more the explosive back, the shifty back, the dynamic back. Kaytron's a little bit more physical. He's a little bit more of a bruiser. But both of these guys just, I mean, they were tasked with a lot of touches in this one. And I think they both succeeded. You know, they passed with spectacular fashion.
It's, you know, I so much credit because coming into even when they first arrived on campus, I don't think these two can survive together. Someone's going to leave because there's not enough touch. As running backs, you want to be the guy. And they have shown us that they are able to coexist in a big way. From the change of pace, you know, we all said Nick is the guy that, you know, will give us some of the explosive plays. But in this past week, I don't know, the one play where Nick chipped the guy, knocked the defensive end down, caught a pass over the defensive back to go for a first down. Like, these are guys, those are game-winning type of. And then Kaytron, as we saw, he comes in there, he gets into the mix. Guys are such a fun duo to watch. You know, people talk about the Ohio State running backs. Those guys are great players. But I will put our two running up against the Ohio State guys any day of the week. So I think we're just seeing the beginning of something special. But the thing that really impresses me is that how these guys have put their egos to the side and said, hey, let's do this together. And hey, ultimately, when they go, they're going to be fresh. I say they're not getting, you know, 30, 40 carries a game. As you said, I think it was 18 carries a piece.
Yep.
You can keep yourself healthy. You can be fresh at the end of the year.
Yeah, they've done a really nice job. And you're right, because there have been running backs, you know, with this program. And no disrespect, I'm a big believer in go get yours. If you feel the transfer portal is for you, go ahead and do it. I am a huge, huge, huge proponent of that, because I always said if coaches can up and leave for a better job or a better opportunity, players should be able to do the exact same thing. So I'm a huge proponent of that. But there have been some other running backs here in the past that, and you know, for whatever reason, whether it be a Ceziah Holmes or a Lee or whomever it might be, where you added a ton of really good talent within the span of like 3 years. To be able to feel comfortable. These guys, they talk about it all the time. These guys are like best buds. They're together all the time. They challenge each other. They push each other. They know what each other's strengths are. They know, you know, hey, I'm the dynamic runner. You're the bruiser. But that doesn't get in the way of if you rile off a 40-yard gainer, I'm going to be running down the sideline with you because you're my guy. And the chemistry that these two have, the interchangeableness that they have, where they're fresh in the second half. And we're going to talk about the second half because this team has become a dynamic second half organization. They're fresh in the second half. And what that allows you to do, in my opinion, like you just have explosion in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. Some teams have guys, you know, your running back is getting 25, 30 touches a game and you got tired legs. And they're just going out there because they're the best player and because they can carry the load of 30, you know, touches or so a game. But with these two guys having the ability to stay fresh, stay active, and get some of that active rest while the other one just picks up right where the other left off, I think is such a positive for this Penn State offense that's relying on the two of them. Like Drew Aller has come a long way. He's been he's matured, he's grown, his decision making is cleaner, his pocket presence is better. But I think we can all agree the two best players, and maybe two of the three best players on this offense are the two running backs. And then maybe Tyler Warren is the third. Yeah,
and Tyler, the thing that is really impressive, what some people may not realize, is that these two guys aren't avoiding. They are pounding you. You just think by the third, fourth quarter when you got Kaytron coming at you. I mean, these guys finish runs. You don't see a lot of running out of bounds with these guys. Going to get that extra yard or two every time they had the ball. And then you put Tyler Warren back. Warren coming at you. So I'll just tell you, I would hate to be a linebacker or anyone in the secondary that has to play this Penn State team, because every single play, you're challenged physically by these running backs. And I'll just tell you, Coach Sider, who's the running backs coach up at Penn State, he did such a fantastic job of bringing those guys together off the field. I mean, if you looked on or all the social media, there are so many evenings when he would post videos of the guys hanging out, playing horseshoes, just bonding as a running back group. Activities truly pay dividends when the fall comes around. So you could tell these guys are a group. There's no ego. And as you said, Tyler, when Kaytron scored a touchdown, when the other guys on the sideline running, being the first one to celebrate enjoy that touchdown. So I got to give those guys so much credit because you just don't see that in today's football. I think, at 85% of schools, one of those guys would have transferred by now. So I just think it speaks volumes to these guys as players and also to the coaching staff because, I was at a few events over the summer with Coach Franklin. He said, hey, these guys had opportunities to leave. There were teams that were offering substantial amounts of money for Kaytron and Nick to go be the guy at a university. And they both say, hey, no, we want to stay at Penn State. We want to do something special. So when you have that type of foundation, that leads to special things. So I'm just so excited to see them having this early success, building this foundation, because I say, hey, that first Big Ten game, that's where you kind of set the standard for the remainder of the season. I think there's a lot of good stuff to work off that we all saw in this first game against Illinois.
So I don't want to toot our own horns too much, but this show was pretty productive in the X factors that they chose in this past week. You and Jason both chose Tyler Warren, who that wrinkle with Tyler Warren and the Wildcat as the quarterback, the signal call, or whatever the case may be. It works. And the reason that it works is obviously he has that kind of threat to throw. I'm not sure he's going to throw too much. But like you brought up, with Kaytron Allen being like that bruiser, once contact, Nick Singleton does it too. Tyler Warren's going to just run into your chest. He's going to lower the shoulder. He's going to lower the boom. And, you saw it a couple of times he scored. And the leap, man, how about the flight pattern that man, he needed like air traffic control clearance on that one.
He took off from like the 3 or 4 yard line. So and that just to show you the athleticism of a guy like that. How many 250, 60 pounds doing that type of athletic maneuver with the ball in their hands and having himself to be able to do that. But I think that the thing that I love is that Coach Franklin will be the first one to tell you, Tyler Warren is the best tight end in college football. And when you have your coach, you really start to believe it within yourself. And even, in our running backs room, he will say to anyone that's willing to listen, this is the best running back duo in college football. And for, pumping that out there, that really builds these guys up. And from an ego side, but we all, as college football players, you got something within you. And when you got your coach, you want to, show him that on the field. I think these guys are responding to everything that the coaches are putting before them in these first 4.
Yeah, you brought up the Ohio State tandem, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. I mean, that's an explosive group. That's one of the best running back cores that I've seen in a really long time. And I probably still would take that one just slightly, but I think what Singleton and Allen have continued to prove that they're able to do is play that thunder and lightning role. And you're right. When you and then you add Tyler Warren into the mix as like an everything, a Swiss Army knife. You can line him up in like a flex. You can line him up as your wildcat. You can line him up on the line. You can line him up in the slot. Those are your 3 dynamic players. Like the receiving core has been better, and it's gotten better as the season has gone on. And Omari Evans is clearly the deep threat, and Trey Wallace is clearly the number one option as a wide receiver. But I think this team succeeds at the highest level and will continue to succeed in Big Ten play on the strength of those 3 guys specifically.
100%. I think, these first 3 games and then even the first going into the Big Ten schedule is you trying to really, create an identity for your – and we're seeing that identity, that this is going to be a run first. But the great thing is that they have the ability, through Drew Aller to put the ball into. And I think they're still building that chemistry. Drew is building a relationship with Trey and with Julian Fleming, all those guys. He's got that great connection with Tyler. But once we get receivers rolling a little bit, this team is going to be a very, very dangerous team as we go forward into Big Ten play. And, with UCLA coming in next week, I don't want to get too far ahead. How this offense continues to mature throughout the season. The defensive guy, I think they've got me hooked already. I mean, the first half of games have been, we probably want to see a little bit more. Half of this game and all the games earlier this season,
All right, so we're gonna get into some of the defense because Adam brings up the defense, and I'm really excited about this one because I think that one guy in particular had maybe his best game of the year, and we'll break it all down. And we talked about that second half thing that they've got going on because it's significant. But before we do that, let me tell you about some of our friends, especially over at Shady Rays. Now, I've been telling you about Shady Rays since this podcast started, but even further back, because sometimes you do a read or you talk about a company and you know about them and you like them and you vouch for them. But with Shady Rays specifically, it's not just me saying nice things. Shady Rays is my company of choice when it comes to the best polarized lenses in town. Now, listen, I've told you before, I struggle with headaches. I struggle with light and things like that. And one of the weird things about my headaches specifically is these hazy, gloomy days are actually the ones that bother me the most. So I've got my Shady Rays. I had them on the car ride home today from the studio, and I can't tell you enough about how much I love Shady Rays. And that's why 5-star reviews come from over 300,000 people. They've got durable frames and crystal clear optics, and they make for the perfect choice for all of your outdoor adventures, from things as simple as driving your car to something as complex as an outdoor hike or an adventure of your own. And they've got hundreds of options to choose from, so you are bound to find the perfect pair that matches your style. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or if they take an unexpected hit, I've had that happen before. Don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every single pair that you buy is backed by lost or broken replacement. And if you're not in love with your shades, sometimes it happens. You go on the website, you build a pair and you like them online, you get them and they're not quite for you. You want something a little bit different. You can exchange them for a new pair worry-free within the first 30 days. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. So if you head on over to shadyrays.com and use the code PHLY, you'll get 35% off your polarized sunglasses. So try it for yourself. The shades that are rated by 300,000 people, given 5 stars by over 300,000 people, myself included. And with that, let's tell you about our friends over at Ace, because Ace is now the presenting sponsor of our Philly show too. And we love our friends over at Ace because now you're getting into the season where the weather starts to turn and who knows, maybe you start to get some leaks in the foundation or a crack or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're thinking about, are your pipes going to freeze come wintertime? Well, what Ace Hardware Home Services brings you is whenever you've got the next job, they have the experience. They're local plumbers, they're techs, and they handle everything from your repairs to seasonal maintenance to installation and upgrades. They also bring you understanding. They know what your goals are because sometimes your goals align with their house goals, and the job isn't just to get done, it's to get it done to your satisfaction. And the final thing they bring, the most important thing they bring, is the helpful hardware folks right to your home so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really do matter. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project as early as tomorrow. They'll be there for you. They're ready to come see you, and they'll take care of you. Ace is the way to go. Adam, we've talked a lot about the running back group. We've talked a lot about the offense, and I think maybe it's a little bit natural to immediately go to the offense when you talk about a win, because offense scores points. Offense is sexy. Big passing plays, big chunk rushing plays. That's what gets on SportsCenter. That's what the highlights are. That's what you see on Twitter. But I got to tell you, I was so thoroughly impressed with this Penn State defense this past weekend, especially in the second half of this game. So Penn State gives up an opening touchdown drive for the second time in 3 weeks, which could be a little bit problematic as Illinois marched right down the field. But after that, Illinois did not score. They were in the red zone a couple of times, didn't get anything out of it. There weren't any chunk plays. The fact that this defense stands tall, particularly in the second half, each and every game, has become the most impressive thing to me about this entire team. I know we gave a lot of praise to Singleton and Allen, but I think to me the most impressive thing about this team is the way they swarm defensively, especially in the second half.
You hit the nail on the head. This defense was truly special. If you look at it, this game an entirely different way. If there was a defensive breakdown, I just think when Illinois got down to the 2-yard line and came away with 0 points, that changed the game right there. If Illinois goes in and I think we have a different game. So these guys, I mean, they showed. There were so many times throughout some of those drives when the defense could have panicked. They could have said, "Hey."
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, like you said, that stand at the 2-yard line, I think, granted, there was a combination of some penalties and some poor play offensively from Illinois, the snap over Luke Altmyer's head. But you are first and goal from the 2. And not only did you come away with a team that gave up 0 points or a team that scored 0 points, you ended up making Illinois force a 45-yard field goal attempt. So what that says is you are 4th and goal from the 27, 28-yard line. To get off the field with no points is special. Maybe you got a turnover, maybe you got a 4th down stand, whatever the case may be. Anytime you get a goal line stand like that to give up 0 is special. But to come away with such a long field goal opportunity for them to get nothing for it, to not only do you get off the field with no points, but you flip the field semi in your favor. Instead of getting the ball at the 1 or the 2, if they had to go for it on 4th down, you get the ball at like the 27, 28. You're not backed up into your own end zone. It fires your offense up. It fires your defense up. It fires your fans up. And James Franklin was effusive of the Penn State fans this weekend, and rightfully so. That stand to me was the absolute difference maker in this one on Saturday.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The entire defense did their job. And I keep saying, I know I've said it 3 times already, but if we don't have that performance out of our defense, Illinois may walk out with a win. Illinois may, and those are just game deflating type of drives where Illinois is riding high. They think, hey, we can go in, score, get within a touchdown or tie it up. But before you 45-yard field goal, and you're walking off the field with no points. And that just deflates a team. And as we often say, and Jason says all the time, these players are human. And when you have something like that happen, it's like, wow, we're today. And it's just it's great to see that we've got guys with that type of and time. We try to recruit guys with high character, guys that aren't going to fall adversity hits. Penn State has faced some adversity early in the season. Great thing about it is that they will only build upon all these experiences because they're learning. The next time they're in that same type of position, they can look at them and say, hey, even if they're in the red zone, if they're at the 10-yard line, if they're at the 5-yard line, because this offense may walk away with 0 points because it's playing at a very high level right now.
So after that a field goal attempt where they come away with no points, Penn State gives up 39 yards the rest of the way. And so I went back and I was like, they've done a really good job of second half defense. We talked about that plenty. But the 39 yards were kind of my ears kind of perked up a little bit when I saw that and heard that. So I went back through the first 4 games. Not only has Penn State allowed only 9 second half points all year, they gave up 6 to West Virginia in the opening weekend, and they gave up 1 lone field goal to Bowling Green in week 2. They've given up 9 total points in the second half. Not only have they done that, but their defense has faced 19 drives this year. Of those 19 drives, 2 of them have come away with points. The 2 that I just mentioned, the touchdown against West Virginia, the field goal against Bowling Green. Here are the other 17 drives. 11 punts, 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 game that ended. It was Kent State had the ball with no time left and the clock expired, so they give up no points. When you start to put these things into perspective, because your eyeballs say, hey, man, the defense has been great in the second half all year. When you start to put tangible numbers behind these things, it starts to really kind of hit home just how good they have been in the second half, where, like I said, 9 points, 2 scoring drives, and 11 of them have ended in a punt. 6 of them have ended in turnovers.
You know, it's such a luxury to have a defense that's playing at that level right now. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't give a huge shout out. You know, Tom came over, you know, when Manny Diaz left last year, their defense going to be to the same level that it's been playing over the last few years under Manny Diaz's leadership. This defense, I think, has only gotten better under Tom. The adjustments that they make at halftime, you know, people just look at it. That's not an easy thing to do. You're trying to take everything that happened over the first half, digest it, and come up with a revised game plan in order to stop what's been happening in the first half. And they've done that spectacularly in the first 4 games. So I just say, you know, Coach Allen, the entire defensive staff, tremendous job helping our players, helping the guys during halftime make the necessary. Coming out, you can make the adjustments, but coming out and executing those adjustments in the second half is an entirely different thing. And it's been truly fun to watch. I will tell you, you know, and we've talked about it plenty of times on this podcast, is if we can get rid of some of these defensive penalties, I think those numbers are even more impressive. And, you know, the one penalty that still is burning my chest right now is when we had the pick 6 by, what was it, AJ?
Block in the back, man.
And I'm watching it, and I'm seeing it, and I'm like, no. And I thought the player may have tripped it. I said, there's no way you push him in the back with the ref right there. And unfortunately, you know, when they showed the replay, that's exactly what things that just can't happen. That is, you know, that's just undisciplined football. And that's, you know, you put and you know that's just a play you don't make.
So I listen, I didn't play at any level competitively, but I've always heard and been told the one thing you don't do is if you see the guy's number or his nameplate, you let him go. You don't put your hands on him, because all you're going to do is end up getting a penalty out of it, blocking the back, unnecessary roughness, whatever the case may be. You see a nameplate, you see the back of his helmet, you see his jersey number, you got to let him you got to let him go by to an extent.
It's
and I know
that's one of the first things you learn.
Yeah, right. It feels like that's kind of basic. And listen, everybody makes dumb penalties. I've always been a believer in, I don't know how you feel about this, Adam. I've always been a big believer in physical penalties. I'm okay with holding, pass interference, you know, whatever that might, you know, you're in the mix of the game. Those kind of things are happening. You're trying to protect your quarterback. You're trying to protect the long ball. The mental mistakes are what frustrate me. And it's not just in football, it's in any sport. Physical mistake, like I always talk about it in baseball. You make an error, you drop a fly ball, you know, you go down swinging, strike 3 in a big spot. Those type of things are going to happen. The mental mistakes are the ones that frustrate you, because as you said, you kind of think about these things that you were taught at a young age growing up, playing pound ball and Pop Warner and whatever you were, you know, however you started playing football.
And type penalty. What are your thoughts? I don't know if you saw Tony Rojas. He got called for a penalty because he hit a guy that wasn't looking, but he's literally trying to make running the wide receivers out there running, not looking around, and Tony takes out the wide. It's a big penalty in the game. But yeah. I can understand that type of penalty. To your point, that's a penalty where he's trying to make a play, and unfortunately, he took out the wide receiver. And today, if that was happening 20 years ago when I was playing, that's a clean play. But unfortunately, we're in today's times. But point, that's the exact type of penalty where Tony Rojas, I can understand that. For instance, early in the first half, when Abdul jumps off sides, there's a free play. Altmyer just throws it down the field knowing he has a free play, and they end up getting a big. Those are the type of penalties that we can have. And hopefully, Coach Franklin was talking at the conference yesterday. That's his number one thing. He said, I'm getting tired of coming up to these press conferences talking about or probably saying, all right, fix it. And he said, I can assure you, we're trying again to hone in on these guys and say, we've got to stop these penalties because as we all have to bite us at some point if we don't get them cleaned up.
Yeah. So the one thing that with where we are at PHLY, a lot of Eagles conversation going on. And Nick Sirianni for the last 4 weeks now has said, hey, the Eagles can't continue to win when they're losing the turnover battle. I think the same could be applicable to the penalty battle, maybe to a lesser extent. Turnovers are significant. I think are more significant. But I think it could be applicable to a turnover battle where you say, hey, we're winning games, and that, everything after the comma is exactly the opposite of what you just were praising. But you could say, hey, we're winning games, but the turnovers need to be cleaned up, or the penalties need to be cleaned up. Because like you brought up Abdul Carter with the offside penalty. And we're going to talk about Abdul Carter because I thought that was his best game of the season so far. I'm curious your thoughts on it. But you're right. The penalties and things like that, it still continues to be a frustrating thorn in the side of this team who are winning in spite of it. But when you start to play, and Saturday was their first real test at better competition. When you start to play the USCs or Ohio State or even Wisconsin, does that, can you survive those things?
We all say it's hard enough to win as it is. Penalties only make it that much harder. Let's go back again to Coach Franklin's press conference. He even said it was a tough game, but it shouldn't have been that hard because there were some key penalties that made, either kept some drives going, that got them into the red or a touchdown. We erased some of those penalties. None of that happened. So that, I know the coaching staff is really trying to hone in on. And, these are 18 to 22-year-old kids. It takes some time to get through to them and how crucial it is because, they're winning games. So they're like, hey, but there's going to – and we've said it countless times, there's going to come a point where these of the world, the Ohio States of the world, the Wisconsins be game killers. So let's fix it. But again, just to keep going back to some of the things that Coach Frank, I'm just thankful that we're learning these lessons while we're winning, because there's times where lost in order to really wake guys up. So that's the silver lining with all this.
One final thought on the defense as a whole before we get to one player in specific. James Franklin in his press conference talked about how they were much better defensively on first down in this one. And I know we keep harping on the second half, but I think there's a reason to it. Here are the first down plays that Illinois had in the second half and what they ended up coming up with yardage-wise. 2, 0, 5, 0, -8, 21, they had a big chunk play. The very next play, Abdul Carter gets the sack, -5. So you're talking about on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 first down plays in the second half. They went for a grand total of 15 yards.
That's the key. It's so crucial. And we talk about getting, the offense wants to stay on schedule, the defense, and those first down plays are the foundation of trying to keep an offense on schedule. So 0 yards or negative plays, that is what the defense is supposed to do. We want to keep those guys off schedule. So the defense did a fantastic job in the second half of keeping Illinois schedule, and that makes them do things that they don't want to do, which was throw the ball. You can see when Penn State knew that the pass was coming, we would have pinned our ears back, and they got after the quarterback the entire second half.
So we're going to talk about one guy who was able to get after the quarterback. I don't need to preview it anymore. It's Abdul Carter. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about the game coming up this weekend against UCLA, where Penn State might be able to exploit a UCLA team that's struggling a little bit. But before we do that, let me tell you about our friends over at Empire today, because Empire gives you a great shop at home experience. They're going to give you the right products that you need. They're going to give you the quick is relative, but a quick and professional installation. And the reason I say it's relative is because the one thing that Empire does is they're not going to rush on their product. They know what is best for you, and they know how to make your home stand out, but they don't want to rush you through the process. Flooring, carpeting could be a complicated experience. There's hundreds of different styles and different ways to choose to go about renovating your home, fixing up a old hardwood, changing it to carpet, taking up carpet and putting some nice new tile in, whatever the case may be. Empire knows that there's a lot of challenges along the way. So they're going to simplify that for you. They don't want to burden you with choices and substitutes. What they leave out is everything except the important selection. Their product team has an exhaustive amount of experience as they go through thousands of different samples to find the exact one, that perfect style that is going to fit you best. And when I talk about the shop at home convenience, the best way to do it with Empire is with their virtual floor design, because it is a great way to see how your new flooring is going to look in any space. You could just snap a picture of your living room, your kitchen, your bathroom, your dining room, whatever the case may be where you're putting the new flooring in. You snap a new picture and you will instantly see how your new floors will look within that room. And they pride themselves on their convenient shop at home service. They're going to help you through the entire process, from what type of flooring you're looking for all the way right up until the professional installers come in and help you install it to get your home looking brand new. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, and all listeners will receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. See empiretoday.com/PHLY to get started on the next step, and hopefully the first of just a few uncomplicated steps of making your home look brand new. And while I'm here, speaking about brand new, you want to get brand new content, let me tell you, now is a great time to get in and become a PHLY diehard. If you head on over to allphly.com, you're going to see everything that you need to do. It's a simple steps to becoming a diehard. You'll find the events calendar. You'll find all of the post-game shows. You'll find some written content. But the reason that you become a diehard is for some of the elite premium written content here at allphly.com. And our writing team continues to grow. We have, in my humble opinion, some of the best Eagles content creators in the market. It starts with Zach Berman, but it doesn't just end there. Obviously, Bo Wolf does a tremendous job on the shows. We've added Fran Duffy and his breakdowns. Les Bowen does an incredible job, and that's just with the Eagles crew. Think about it. Sixers breakdowns, Flyers breakdowns from Charlie O'Connor, a wide scope of everything that you could want. That is just premium content for our diehards over at all PHLY. But it doesn't just stop at premium content. You're going to get 20% off all paid events. You'll find dope merch from all of our teams. And when you sign up, we like you so much, one of those pieces of merch are going to be going home with you. You'll get a free t-shirt when you become a member. And I've told you about this before. You get in on the members-only Discord that we call the PHLY Lounge, where we talk about everything. I was excited the other day talking about one of our a concert that's coming up, and it's not coming until April. But I was so excited I had to tell our music tab of our PHLY diehard Discord. So for all of those reasons and so much more, head on over to allphly.com today. Get in on some of the best premium content that you can find in the city, and join our ever-growing group of diehards over at all PHLY. Adam, we've talked. I don't think I need to segue it anymore. It's not a secret. This next segment, to me, is dedicated to Abdul Carter. We know how good Abdul Carter is. I think the world knows how good Abdul Carter is. What Abdul Carter did in Saturday's game, to me, was his best all-around performance of the season. He's had some good games, but I think what he was able to do in wrecking havoc in the passing game, in playing all over the field, he ended up with 7 tackles. He had 2 sacks, 4 TFLs, 8 quarterback pressures. And then if you go to our friends over at PFF, they had him at a 24% pass win rate and a 90.9 pass rush grade over at PFF. And oh yeah, by the way, he won the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week for all of those efforts. To me, I don't know about you, but to me, it was his best all-around performance of the season.
100%. I mean, we've all saw flashes for the first 3 games of what I'm calling him Micah because he looked like Micah Parsons out there. But seeing what Abdul did in that second half, he's been like a ticking time bomb. He's just been waiting to explode. And I think it goes back to what we spoke about earlier. They were able to get the offense off schedule. Abdul was able to just put his blinders on and get quarterback. And we saw what he does best. When he comes off that edge, I mean, there's no one out there that's more athletic, that's more impressive edge. And once he gets that shoulder dipped, he's coming. And Altmyer, you could every time he dropped back because he knew Abdul was coming. So I'm just Abdul because he did something that not all players in America would want to do. He was a linebacker. He's playing defensive end right now. So that even speaks to how that game was last weekend. He's learning, still in the process of learning a new position. Played out there in the second half, looked like he's been playing defensive end his entire life. And again, just another piece of a football program that we're just going to see continue to get better as the season unfolds.
Yeah, and one of the things too that you bring up there about the positional change, and I wonder if people have maybe swept it under the rug a little bit, either because of how dynamic he is as a pass rusher or how gifted he is at playing any one position on the field, or maybe because Micah Parsons did a similar thing and they just expect him to kind of follow suit. Changing positions is not an easy thing to do. And I wonder, we talk about the penalties, the offsides, he's jumped a couple of times in the first 4 games. I wonder if the change of position has something, maybe a little more than something, to do with it, right? Your cadences change, jumping the snap changes a little bit. I'm curious, do you think that has anything to do with the early season penalties? Is the positional change?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you think about last year he's playing linebacker. He's 3 or 4 yards off the ball. So and when he hears the cadence, he's able to move up a little. As a linebacker, you're not off sides. When you're playing defensive end, you're right there on the ball. So if you're making movement towards the offensive line, you're immediately off sides. So it's just that may not be as apparent to those who haven't had to change positions, but that is from a linebacker to the defensive end, you've got to be a little bit more disciplined on your standing to just, I've got to look at the ball. I can't listen to the cadence because these quarterbacks are the change, how they call out their calls and draw us off sides. So I think he's going to understand how to play that position, but it's fun to watch the guy that's only played 4 games and see what he's doing already at this early stage. Gives us a lot.
And the one thing in particular that I really kind of noted, and obviously we know he can play linebacker because of the fact that he did it last year, but his ability to kind of be able to be a chameleon and play all over the field, I think is such an asset to Tom Allen and his defense. The one play in particular, it was late in the game. Luke Altmyer drops back, and he went into a full quarterback spy. And when he dropped back into that quarterback spy, as soon as Luke Altmyer broke to his left, he broke with him. He ends up picking up the sack because of it, and it wasn't one of those where he, bone crushing hit or anything like that. He gets in his way. He trips him up. He doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. He picks up the sack because of it. His ability to play in multiple fronts, his ability to slide around and play the edge and play some linebacker, be that spy, I think is going to give Tom Allen and this defense like an enormous amount of flexibility with him to utilize him to whatever strength they feel is working on that particular day. I watched another play where it was a cutback run, and the guard and I think it was the right guard. They were going right to left. The right guard pulled, and he said, dude, you're not keeping up with me. You're not fast enough to keep up with me. He went right around the edge. It wasn't even like a right guard chip. It was a right guard miss. So his ability to kind of be chameleon-like and play in multiple different fronts and multiple different positions, I think is so utilizable and so important to this defense's success.
It's such a valuable asset to have a player that caliber that can play multiple positions, that's athletic enough all over the field. You know, it's so interesting when I talk to guys that play one college level and go on to play in the NFL. They say it's not too much of a difference. You know, all the skill, similar speed. They said the biggest difference is the speed of the linebackers and the interior line. And when you look at what Abdul is able to do, he's got NFL intangibles. He's that guy that can run from sideline to. He's got, and we talk about the physical talent. Let's talk about the mental side of things. And on the last podcast, being able to understand the defensive concepts from a linebacker standpoint and also from a defense is something that is special in itself, because there are two entirely different dynamics when you're playing defense. So it is such, you know, I'm sure Tom Allen is smiling as he watched him back, knowing that he's got a truly special player and Carter. And I think that's he is, I think as he goes, Penn State, when he's humming, when he's running all over the field, that just frees up so many other guys to make big plays. Like I said, I can't be more excited for what we're going to see in this upcoming UC, but more importantly, what we saw this past weekend when Illinois should give every to be truly excited about.
Yeah, Illinois was a team that was committed to running the ball. James Franklin talked about it. They've done a nice job. They had a handful of different rushers who were over 100 yards, heading into the game already. And we talked about their ability to protect the football and shrink games, just kind of like Penn State does as well. Illinois ended up rushing for 1.1 yards per carry in this one. They were a team who came into this game that picked up 345 yards of offense or more in 3 of their first 4 games. And the only one they didn't was against Kansas. And I think they were up in like the 280 range. We knew that this was a good offense coming in. And you brought up the run game. It's gotten the run defense interior wise. Zane Durant's been awesome. And they did a really nice job of stifling an Illinois run game. And I know that Abdul Carter is tasked primarily with being a pass rusher, but the more that he develops in the run game, the more he becomes a complete dynamic, edge rushing defensive end. He's going to continue to shoot up draft boards and go from, first round pick, mid round to first round pick, top 12, or, whatever the case ends up being. The more complete he becomes as a defensive end and as an edge rusher, the sky's the limit for this kid.
The draft stock continue to rise. So I think from his standpoint, he saw, and we just spoke about it, he saw the meteoric rise that Micah Parsons has had, and ever since he's even been in the NFL. And if you look at their body types, they look like identical. Penn State and Abdul right now. You couldn't tell them apart. So I think NFL scouts are seeing the same thing that we all see as general fans here. NFL level, I'm sure they're salivating to see what they can do with this guy, because he has all the intangibles. He's got raw talent, and he's just got to, and we saw him put it together in the second half. But the big thing is just now let's keep it consistent. Let's ride that momentum into the UCLA game, into the USC game, and keep it rolling, because when we have an Abdul at that level, this defense is going to be hard to. And I've said it about 10 times now, but I just can't wait. We like that. Like, I can't wait to see it again. Show me the encore. So it's Abdul. He's the type of kid that's going to, he grinds. Because I think he wanted to show more in the first 3 games, but this was a great, if you want to call it, coming out party in the second half of the Illinois game. And I think we're going to see out of him as we go forward in the Big Ten season.
So you brought up Illinois, so let's get into it as we're kind of wrapping things up. Illinois, UCLA. You brought up UCLA. So let's get into that as we kind of wrap things up. It's been a weird year for them, an unfortunate year for them. And we talked about, Deshaun Foster being a first-year head coach with this team. They've started the year 1-3. They beat Hawaii. The schedule has been pretty unrelenting for this UCLA team over the first couple of weeks. Non-conference game against LSU, a conference game, early conference game against Oregon, a conference game against Indiana, who, at the beginning of the year, kind of like Illinois, we went, they might be okay. But this Indiana team, man, is just putting points up on everybody. Yeah. And then you got to go to Beaver Stadium to play Penn State. An unfortunate start to the year for UCLA. The schedule really doing them no favors. But they're also not helping themselves. They rank second to last in rushing yards per game with 57. Akron is the only team that's worse. To put it into perspective, Adam, Kent State has 57.6 yards per game. They are averaging less rushing yards per game than Kent State is on the year, a team that may not win many games in the next 2 seasons. It's an unfortunate start, but they're not helping themselves.
Not at all. And I think Coach, where UCLA is the team that's still trying to find themselves. And I said, hey, Deshaun Foster, he was when I was coming up, I loved watching him as a running back at UCLA. A guy that, seems to really just be a good person, a guy that you want to see succeed. It's just, to your point, it's been the schedule has just been like murderer's row. You got LSU, you got Indiana, you got Oregon, then you got to come to Happy. These guys are getting it on the chin every week. So I tell you that to say, though, they want to get a win. So this is a team you can't take for granted. They played some, which means they're battle tested. They may not have won a lot of games, but they've been through a lot of as far, and they're going to come in here and they're going to feel no different. I was watching in the early Big Ten, the press conference earlier this season. They were asking some of the players, where are you looking most forward to playing this year? And almost every you said, I'm excited to come to Beaver Stadium. So with that being said, these guys are going to be coming. And just like we did in the second half of the Illinois game, we're just going to have to, essentially let them know that this is not going to be the day. And unfortunately, when a team has multiple games, as soon as they see or feel some type of adversity, a lot of times these teams pack it in. Take UCLA out the game, the better. We cannot give them any hope. Let their offense get going, or give them any hope that this is going to be an opportunity to get their first Big Ten win. So excited to watch from the West come over to Beaver Stadium, and we'll see how it all plays out. But as always, I think our Penn State boys are going to be all right this weekend.
Yeah, you bring up battling adversity, and the quarterback position is one that is kind of still up in flux a little bit for this team. Ethan Garbers was hurt last week. Reports were saying that he was kind of taking it easy, riding the stationary bike earlier in the week. The coaching staff basically said he's going to play unless we tell him to stop. He is fully committed to playing in this game. If he doesn't go, it's because the medical staff and the athletic trainers and whatnot said that, hey, man, don't do it this week. It's not worth playing. If he doesn't play, they're going to turn things over to Justin Martin, who is a true sophomore that has thrown 5 passes in his collegiate career for 12 yards. I hate to compound issues for this team, but if Garbers can't play, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult afternoon for UCLA.
Couldn't agree with you more. I always say, as a Penn State fan, I want to play whoever we're playing. I want to play them at full strength. You hate to see teams not playing at full strength and playing with your second string quarterback. For the Kent State game, they were playing with their third string quarterback mid first quarter. So I just hope their quarterback is able to go. I know those. I don't think any of those UCLA players. I don't think they've ever played. Some of them may never have played on the East Coast before. So it's going to be exciting for them. I just my big thing as a guy that's had an injury, I just want everyone to stay healthy and let's see what give us your best shot. But I am confident. Whoever's playing quarterback, our boys are going to be ready to get after them. I know that the game plan, as Coach Franklin said, they're already deep in the game planning, and we're gonna welcome them properly to Beaver Stadium. I think this weekend we're gonna have a stripe out, from what I'm hearing. We got the blue and white going on, so it'll be a fun atmosphere. And I just, as I said, hopefully our defense. Let's get it started in the first half. Let's not wait till the second half to really hone in. Let's get it started from the first half and them out early in the game so we can get ready for it. Not to look ahead, but maybe we could rest them third and fourth quarter so we get ready to head out to USC.
So just a couple of notes before we get out of here that I jotted down. Their offense is struggling on third down. They're 123rd in college football at just 28% conversion rate. The defense isn't getting off the field on third down. They've given up 58% of their third down completions, which is last in college football. The red zone defense for UCLA has also been an issue. They've given up points on 15 of their 17 trips to the red zone, including 11 touchdowns. So I think red zone is going to be an important key, as it is most weeks. I think your defense getting off the field on third down will be paramount to success, and extending drives. And we talked about last week the difference between like a marching drive and a quick strike, big play type of chunk drive. I think that the overall matchup swings pretty heavily in Penn State's favor, but as you and Jason always talk about, any given Saturday come in college football, you gotta bring your A game no matter what.
No matter what, the boys I'm sure will be excited. I would say, player, you're playing an opponent you have never played, or a lot of these guys are on the current roster. So Coach Franklin did mention during his press conference though that all think Penn State is 1-4 against UCLA. Yeah. So that's a motivating factor for our guys to come out. And the big thing that I want to see is, offense and defense look pretty well. We got to see some improvement there.
I apologize. You have to see some improvement where?
On special teams with our field goal. A bit on that front last weekend. And I think we got to have all, as we get into some of these tougher games, all three components, defense, offense, and special teams going. And I think offense and defense a bit.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think two of the three components were really, really good on Saturday. Obviously, Sanders Sahaydak misses the two field goals. They turn things over. And I don't know. I don't know what James Franklin's going to end up doing. Does he go back to Sahaydak or does he go to somebody else? Most of these teams, I assume, are carrying 3, 4, 5 different specialists, if you will. Unfortunate night for the kid. I think it gets compounded after you miss one. Compounding it with the second is unfortunate because then you're just the ire of fans. Because I think kickers are easy targets, unfortunately, because people go, "You had one job," and I don't think they understand how difficult kicking can be in certain times. But there was a lot of missed field goals, 3 missed field goals in this one in total on Saturday. So you're right. I hope that they clean that up just a little bit. With that being said, though, we'll wrap this thing up. A lot of fun as always, Adam. I think you and I are both in agreement that they should win this game. But again, as we said, it's a bring your A game every Saturday type of league or type of college football atmosphere. Because we've seen some big games or some big upsets just last week. Kentucky takes down a ranked opponent a couple weeks after battling Georgia right till the end. So I think that this will be a fun one. So we'll be back next Tuesday at 4:00 as we break down this game against UCLA, and we start to get set for Penn State's first West Coast Big Ten trip of the year as they'll head on out to USC. So for Adam Teleferro, Jason Cabinda will be back with us next week. I'm Tyler Zulli saying thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the All Nittany Lion podcast. We will be back next Tuesday at 4:00 right here on PHLY. And we hope to see you then.